A normal-looking man quietly attends the hunter qualification exam, but his sudden performance completely shocks the world's most powerful S-class hunters. He effortlessly crafts a legendary sword sheath that even renowned grandmother blacksmiths could never reproduce. This jaw-dropping scene makes every judge feel highly confused and absolutely bewildered by his incredible, supreme hidden talent. After a rigorous system evaluation, this unique layered fire sheath is officially declared to have reached an ultra-rare grade. The proctors struggle to understand how a mere candidate could possess such flawless crafting skills. They have absolutely no idea that this quiet man was already the world's ultimate crafting master in his deeply regretful past life. He previously relied on his supreme crafting skills to secure a bloody victory, yet humanity could not survive. The ultimate cost was far too catastrophic because the 6 ancient demon gods who swore to destroy the world were simply too powerful, mercilessly wiping out entire kingdoms and leaving nothing but endless ash behind their cruel path. Among them, the final terrifying entity was the notorious demon god of the Sea of Destruction. Although the monster was eventually slain, the vast majority of the continent's fertile land was already completely swallowed by the toxic, deadly sea of ruin that the creature left behind, leaving the desperate survivors with absolutely no hope for future. Looking at this apocalyptic scenery, I cannot help but mock my own pathetic destiny. I fought so incredibly hard to survive the Great War, only to face a slow death in this cursed ocean. While the surviving legendary heroes are gone, the massive Babel Tower that once supported the entire planet has completely collapsed into useless stone rubble. Even after the demon lord perished, this damn ruinous sea refuses to scatter. Suddenly, a cold voice echoes right behind my back, mocking my words by saying that clueless outsiders would definitely think this hard-won victory was entirely my own glorious achievement. The squad members behind me apparently harbor a deeply negative opinion regarding my overall performance. The arrogant woman named explosive sneers, calling me a pathetic coward who simply faked illness to survive. The man known as Ice continuously grumbles that I only joined their elite military legion to hitch a free ride, utterly ignoring the fact that my expertly crafted gear was the only thing keeping them alive through the intense battles. I completely ignore their harsh jeers, focusing instead on the heavy burden of our collective survival. These 3 legendary warriors are known as the Independent Hounds. They possess monstrous individual combat strength, yet they choose a neutral path, acting as selfish opportunists who only care about personal profit within the grey zones of this brutal world war. I spent over 2 hours carefully restoring their broken weapons as a final tribute. If these selfish bastards had helped earlier, they wouldn't have died with crushed organs and pierced hearts. Now, the overwhelming, giant tsunami approaches rapidly, preparing to swallow my tired body into the deep abyss, ending the final chapter of this long, painful era.
I violently press my palm against my chest, executing my unique blacksmith skill called Bond Extraction. This legendary ability allows me to manifest a glowing mineral stone directly from the profound depths of my soul, utilizing the deep connections forged with my comrades throughout the war, hoping to create one final masterpiece before the world ends.
The continuous, heavy metallic striking sounds echo rhythmically through the cold air. For every 10 hammer blows I strike, the apocalyptic waves roar once. With a final strike, an unexpectedly ordinary weapon appears. I sigh in disappointment, then violently plunge the sharp blade directly into my own beating heart, refusing to be slowly swallowed by the sea. As my consciousness begins to fade, my bleeding body is completely dragged into the dark ocean currents. The ethereal wave sounds I always heard since awakening magic were actually the whispers of the disaster sea. Then, a golden system notification violently flashes before my dying eyes. Before I can even comprehend the meaning of this reality-bending skill, the vision of my old instructor appears right in front of me. I wake up with a violent gasp, completely shocked to find myself sitting back at the academy entrance exam hall. This incredible phenomenon means my final sword possessed the miraculous ability to reverse time itself. My confused mind races as I realize this is exactly 31 years into the past. Is this a mere illusion before death, or did my final masterpiece truly save my soul? The annoyed teacher snaps loudly, warning me that I will be kicked out immediately if I do not take this crucial qualification test seriously from now on. I tightly grip the heavy blacksmith hammer resting on the wooden table. The confusing details no longer matter. The only crucial truth is that fate has granted me a miraculous second chance. A cold, determined smile plays upon my lips. This time, Armed with my future knowledge, I will perfectly protect everything and trigger a true industrial revolution. Everything in my new life officially begins right here at this crucial academy entrance examination. In this lifetime, I will successfully pass the trial of Babel, meet the 3 independent hounds, and eventually convince them to save helpless humanity. As my heavy blacksmith hammer falls, an extraordinary resonance suddenly echoes throughout the quiet examination hall. The moment this remarkable sound echoes, the chief instructor's facial expression completely freezes in pure astonishment. He turns his head around to stare at this highly peculiar candidate, deeply fascinated by his flawless rhythm. Every single blow perfectly replicates that unique clear tone, revealing a masterfully heavy, steady, and clean crafting technique with zero error. To the instructor, my fundamental crafting foundation appears exceptionally solid and experienced. When I lift the highly anticipated piece, everyone gasps at its magnificent quality. The judges even consider letting me pass immediately. Suddenly, I violently smash the beautiful weapon to pieces, shocking the entire crowd with this completely unexpected and reckless action. The confused examiners demand an immediate explanation for why I am treating this important exam like a childish game. I merely chuckle and calmly respond that I refuse to let such terrible garbage represent my professional pride. While one angry judge tries to disqualify me, a mysterious man in a formal suit suddenly intervenes, granting my request. The suit-wearing gentleman commands his nervous assistants to quickly bring me all the remaining raw materials. He eagerly wishes to see exactly what kind of ultimate masterpiece I can forge under these desperate conditions. After obtaining the fresh ores, I immediately begin reheating the furnace, fully aware that my current immature body severely lacks sufficient magic power. With limited time left, I choose a highly dangerous path. I deliberately pour my remaining mana straight into the volatile firestones, risking a catastrophic explosion. I throw the raw materials inside, and a blinding radiance of 7 colored flames violently erupts. The panicked assistants desperately reach for fire extinguishers, but the wise chief instructor quickly stops them. The experienced instructor commands his staff to closely observe the intricate fluid movement of the mystical fire. He recognizes this advanced technique as the 5-color flame harmony, which safely generates extreme temperatures using minimal mana. Everyone is absolutely stunned by my precise control as the roaring furnace successfully alters its elemental attributes to greatly reduce forging time. With only 300 minutes remaining, the immense pressure intensifies. I relentlessly hammer the glowing stone into thin sheets after 90 grueling minutes. Suddenly, my protective magical barrier vanishes due to total exhaustion, causing my hands to violently split open and bleed. Ignoring the intense pain, I tighten my grip and continue striking without wasting a second. Pushing my physical limits to the absolute edge, I rapidly sharpen the blade and carefully measure its straightness. Right as the final countdown ends, I exhale a long sigh of relief over my dried blood. My ultimate creation is finally complete, granting me the exclusive Flame Artisan skill. This ultra-rare weapon is officially named the 5-color Flame Blade. This advanced gear scimitar features 5 distinct elegant flame patterns that react beautifully with injected mana, unleashing a mesmerizing display of colors. The entire room stands completely speechless by this miraculous achievement. 10 minutes later, I am quietly sitting inside the private office of the chief instructor to discuss the future of my crafting career. The instructor notices my dissatisfaction and advises me to withdraw, admitting Babel's blacksmith department has failed for years. I remain silent, already knowing this place will shut down in 8 years. He urges me to join Vulcan Academy instead, but I confidently interrupt his words. I proudly declare that the world's greatest blacksmith institution will not be Vulcan, but this very Babel department that I am about to lead straight to the absolute summit. A single handshake allows the mysterious man to instantly extract a rare metallic ore from his newly formed bond. He will eventually utilize this unique rock to forge a legendary S-class alloy longsword. This incredible innate talent quickly transformed him into the most powerful blacksmith in human history, allowing him to easily conquer every future battle. Just moments ago, I confidently promised the shocked professor that I would personally lead our struggling forging department to become the world's absolute strongest. The professor stares at me with sheer disbelief, seeing his own forgotten dreams reflected within a reckless, young teenager who possesses a highly unique, intensely defiant and powerful aura. The experienced professor calmly states that if I truly wish to achieve such an impossible peak, I must first prove myself by becoming the absolute top genius within this elite institution. He seriously doubts whether a newcomer like me possesses enough raw capability. I simply smile, confidently declaring that no student here could ever surpass my supreme skills. The curious professor then asks if I truly understand how Babel Academy selects its elite freshman chief. I naturally know the entire rigorous process. The institution divides its students into multiple specialized training lines, focusing heavily on combat as the primary branch, followed by various supporting departments that spread out deeply like complex, ancient tree roots. To secure the prestigious chief title, one must possess extraordinary supernatural abilities and earn absolute recognition from the entire academy. The old professor's arm trembles slightly as he offers some serious personal advice rather than lecturing me. He honestly warns me that even the most talented blacksmiths can rarely find genuine success within this environment. He genuinely believes that Vulcan Academy remains the only proper path for my future development. I deeply appreciate his sincere kindness, realizing this great mentor cares far more about my growth than his own professional status. I firmly tell him that surrounding environments can never hinder my ultimate goal because my crafting will change this reality. Moved by my absolute confidence, the professor smiles and extends his hand for a warm partnership. That night at home, I immediately activate my special extraction skill to manifest a glowing mineral stone. This rare material is officially classified as fire-melting iron, a superior medium-grade metal capable of storing intense elemental heat with remarkable efficiency. Although its current volume is slightly small, its unique wood-like properties are exceptionally excellent for future weapon crafting. To defeat the 6 cruel demon gods who currently threaten our entire planet, I must carefully plan my heavy training schedule without rushing any critical steps. I cannot allow my precious memories of those future battles to fade. My primary goal is to obtain weapons related to memory preservation to ensure my strategic knowledge remains completely intact. While deep in thought, a sharp system chime suddenly interrupts my mind. My bond level has successfully reached level 1, and a new imprint is added. 1 week later, I find myself exploring the massive Babel Academy. Since this is the old campus from 30 years ago, getting lost in these massive hallways seems completely normal. Fortunately, I finally locate Room Smith, my designated examination site for today. Inside the room, 2 separate crafting tables are set up, and another candidate stands nearby, looking incredibly aggressive with an intense, bloodthirsty glare. The main evaluator sits at the front desk, continuously tapping a rhythmic beat while acting extremely impatient. This arrogant man is actually the vice dean of the academy, and he openly insults the professor standing next to him. I quickly realize that the blacksmith department faces severe political oppression from the institution's highly corrupt leadership. I politely greet the fierce student, but he treats me like trash. Suddenly, a clear female voice echoes from the entrance, drawing everyone's immediate attention. The vice dean instantly changes his tone, welcoming the highly respected department head to oversee our examination. The moment I see her face, my mind instantly freezes in absolute shock. I recognize this striking red hair and commanding posture immediately. This powerful woman is none other than the legendary Dean of Percival Academy from my tragic past life. I never anticipated that we would reunite in this manner during my entrance trials. As she sits down gracefully, a flood of memories rushes through my head. This unexpected encounter proves that my journey to rewrite destiny has officially begun. Looking at her stunning face, I am completely shocked because I never expected this notorious foodie to appear right here. In my past life, she was globally recognized as a supreme S-class hero, possessing a highly unique, terrifying innate skill that allowed her to continuously increase her combat power by devouring exceptionally powerful, high-grade forged weapons. She used to be my loyal long-term customer before my regretful reincarnation, but unfortunately, she did not survive until the final apocalyptic war. Before her tragic death on the battlefield, her very last words expressed deep regret for eating the final weapons I crafted. Remembering her painful demise makes my heart feel incredibly heavy and deeply sorrowful. Her monstrous combat strength had originally blocked countless lethal attacks from the brutal demon gods on the front lines, saving thousands of innocent human lives. Suddenly, a sharp voice violently interrupts my deep thoughts. The strict examiner loudly commands me to focus my attention immediately as he prepares to explain the upcoming critical rules of this test. The total duration for this secondary exam is strictly limited to 90 minutes. Within this tense timeframe, your newly crafted equipment must work perfectly alongside the primary weapon blade from your previous trial. The examiner slowly raises his fist, suddenly summoning a dense sphere of roaring elemental fire directly from the hollow center of his bare hand. He strictly announces that everyone must exclusively utilize the provided alchemy forge to complete their designs. He gestures toward the massive piles of premium mineral ores scattered across the floor, allowing us to freely mix and match any elements. Under the watchful eyes of Department Head Liu and the strict Vice Dean, the crucial trial officially begins. The arrogant yellow-haired youth standing right next to my table glares at me with pure disdain. I completely ignore his presence, knowing that only one winner can be selected from this trial. As I tie my blacksmith apron to select my ores, the annoying boy constantly mocks my choices, claiming a weakling like me lacks qualifications. He proudly brags about how to correctly utilize pure mono-resonance to prevent elemental instability, acting as if I am completely clueless. I glance back with immense annoyance, telling him to mind his own business. I suddenly recognize his striking physical resemblance to the Vice Dean, realizing this arrogant brat is actually the corrupted high official's son. His prestigious family name represents a renowned holy lineage of elite alchemy blacksmiths. He possesses massive magic reserves that easily rival the top second-year academy students. The brat smugly selects his materials, believing that competing against a low-born civilian like me is a complete waste of his time, confident that his victory is already guaranteed. Sitting at the main judging panel, Liu notes that the boy chose high-capacity magical stones infused with water elements. The Vice Dean proudly agrees, but the professor worries because water mono is extremely sensitive to intense heat, making refinement exceptionally difficult. The confident Vice Dean merely sneers, stating modern alchemy has long surpassed old traditional methods. The old fox boasts that his genius son can easily synthesize any complex mineral within just 30 minutes. Suddenly, Hans begins his intricate spell work. A transparent magical sphere manifests, locking to separate stones in midair. His advanced skill shocks the professor, who realizes the entire test rule was carefully prearranged to heavily favor this elite candidate. Meanwhile, Liu keeps her sharp gaze locked on my station, looking deeply surprised by my selection. I picked water aluminum stone and fire red ore, which are the volatile fire attribute counterparts to Hans's materials. The Vice Dean feels intensely insulted by my confident aura, believing that my weak mono will inevitably cause the fire stones to violently explode. Hans chuckles, assuming I chose these opposing minerals just to look cool. He mocks me as an ignorant fool who cannot handle such volatile elements. Witnessing his arrogance, I calmly activate my divine skill. The system notification flashes as the fire link is activated, causing a dense, bright flame to violently wrap around my entire right arm. The foolish noble brat looks incredibly displeased by my sudden display of power, forcing himself to dismiss it as a meaningless visual trick. I rotate my palm, perfectly controlling the raging elemental fire with absolute ease. With a sharp gesture, my selected premium ores float gracefully into the mid-air, absorbing the heat just as I planned. The shocked judges watch closely as the Vice Dean mocks my dangerous attempt to force resonance with identical attributes, expecting a catastrophic failure. However, my control only intensifies. The room violently shakes as a massive wave of pure pressure erupts from my station. Blinding columns of fire shoot upward, completely obscuring everyone's vision in pure amazement. I exhale a long sigh of relief as the magnificent process successfully concludes, revealing a crystal-clear scabbard floating before me. I firmly grasp the newly forged masterpiece right as the system congratulates me. The professor and Liu stand completely frozen in utter disbelief, while the arrogant Vice Dean gapes, unable to comprehend how this is possible. The system officially declares that I have successfully created the fire-layered sword sheath, achieving an ultra-rare grade with unique heat-amplifying effects. Hans completely stops his crafting actions, sweating profusely as he realizes my synthesis speed was significantly faster than his own. He trembles in pure horror, realizing his entire understanding of magic was completely wrong. Because of his severe mental distraction, the volatile water mono inside his floating sphere suddenly loses stability. The Vice Dean screams in panic, ordering his son to stop immediately before the magic stone explodes. It is far too late. The sphere cracks at extreme speed, violently detonating straight into Hans's face as his entire refinement collapses. Half an hour passes quickly as the shattered remnants of Hans's volatile magic stones lie completely ruined across the floor. His face is filled with immense, bitter unwillingness over failing this crucial trial so miserably. Under normal circumstances, one candidate would be chosen as the top contender immediately following the conclusion of this intense practical examination. The chief professor deeply worries because the other prominent candidate failed to produce any finished product due to the sudden magic disruption. Hans covers his crying eyes in absolute shame, seeing his extensive preparation completely ruined. His bleeding arm drips fresh blood onto the cold ground, marking his pathetic defeat without even finishing the competition. The corrupted vice dean suddenly devises a shameless excuse to protect his son's ruined reputation. He adjusts his elegant clothes and loudly suggests cancelling the examination altogether due to a student being severely injured during the test. However, the righteous professor firmly disagrees, stating that this failure was entirely caused by Hans's own careless mistakes. The shameless vice dean accuses the professor of valuing the test results far more than student safety. He claims that completing the entire resonance process within 6 minutes is scientifically impossible for a freshman candidate. He loudly declares that I must have used some dishonorable, deceptive cheating methods to craft this extraordinarily rare, advanced elemental weapon. I choose not to waste my breath explaining the true essence of alchemy crafting to this arrogant old fool. True alchemy forging does not drain the blacksmith's life force. It traces the core root to awaken the metal's inner vitality. While the angry vice dean demands my immediate disqualification, department head Liu and he suddenly stands up. The vice dean gleefully assumes that the powerful department head is rising to support his corrupt accusation of cheating. However, Liu completely ignores his presence, walking straight past his trembling body with an intensely focused expression. Her sharp eyes remain locked entirely on my newly forged masterpiece, ignoring the chaotic political arguments echoing through the room. She approaches my station and gently touches the beautifully layered scabbard with her bare fingers. The moment her hand contacts the metal, an extraordinary, unprecedented wave of pure elemental energy ripples through her body. This unique phenomenon leaves her completely mesmerized, as such flawless modern craftsmanship has never been reported in human history before. An incredibly awkward silence suddenly fills the entire examination hall as the powerful hero reveals a bizarre desire. Saliva visibly drools from the corner of her lips because the weapon smells completely delicious to her unique appetite. She points her finger at me, strangely asking if she could take a bite or at least lick my sword. Both the vice dean and the professor stand completely frozen by her incredibly absurd request, utterly unable to comprehend her hidden eccentric habit. By the time I officially leave the academy grounds, evening has already arrived. Although the judges did not give me an immediate official answer, I easily achieved my goal of crafting an ultra-rare weapon. While walking down the peaceful streets, the memory of the vice dean's shaking, angry face brings a satisfied smile to my lips. Suddenly, the name Bamut strikes a familiar chord within my mind. I scratch my hair repeatedly, trying to recall why this specific family name sounds so incredibly prominent and dangerous from my past life. I suddenly remember that the legendary hero Explosive Hound once mentioned this despicable name during the Great World War. In my previous timeline, that corrupt blacksmith forced her to perform endless brutal labor while purchasing her priceless weapons at worthless prices. That severe magical backlash permanently damaged her body, forcing her to undergo extensive mechanical modifications. Realizing that Hans Bamut is the exact villain who caused her lifelong physical trauma, my strategic objectives become completely clear. To alter human destiny, I must contact the independent hounds early and fix their tragic fates. Controlling Hans will successfully prevent Explosive Hound's future madness, solving one major threat before the real demon war begins. While I head home to await my official test results, a heated debate erupts inside the grand conference room of Percival Academy. Every single faculty member looks incredibly tense because Department Head Liu has just made an absolute executive decision. She boldly demands that newcomer Li Shaizun must be appointed as the top genius of their institution. The shocked professors believe her sudden decision is far too forced and reckless, yet her absolute authority remains the ultimate law here. Liu is globally recognized as an unparalleled combat prodigy who fiercely protected humanity using a mythical tier weapon. Although she eventually fell into darkness as a demon servant, her strategic alliance remains invaluable to me. The Vice Dean desperately uses his political influence to oppose my top status, demanding a deeper investigation. However, Professor Kim quickly defends my work, praising my flawless mono-control. Another professor argues against my capability, but Liu sharply interrupts their endless complaints. She calmly states that my weapon's current completion rate is merely 60%, and this immense potential excites her. She proudly vows to resign immediately if the Academy refuses to accept her executive decision. 54 years ago, the majestic Tower of Heroes descended from the heavens to accelerate human evolution. In immediate response, the chaotic abyss released a corrupted demon legion to ravage all living entities, turning the world into a massive, toxic swamp. Amidst these apocalyptic tides, the ultimate grand academy known as Babel officially rose from the Pacific Ocean. Countless legendary heroes were born here, including the famous ascending Emperor Ludwig. An old man commands the new students to keep moving forward, as climbing this massive tower is their ultimate duty. I mock his words internally because their true mission is preparing for the coming war. Suddenly, 3 top freshmen are called to the massive stage. In my previous life, I always wondered why so many students love to show off their basic skills after achieving minor success. Now, I find myself standing in the exact same ostentatious position. 3 of us are chosen to perform a grand combat demonstration. The massive automated machines are pushed out, proving the Academy truly loves boasting. The excited host announces that the demonstration tools are the latest models developed by the famous Puppet Factory. This close combat machine, designated as Golem Model 9, possesses enough raw destructive power to fight evenly against standard C-class heroes. First, the combat department genius named Jack Myers steps forward onto the empty arena under a silent crowd. Myers comes from a highly prestigious family of legendary swordsmen, yet he unexpectedly grew into a pure martial arts fanatic. The brawler prepares his aggressive fighting stance, determined to complete this presentation beautifully. The hostile automatons mechanical eyes suddenly flash with a dangerous crimson light, waiting for the host's final signal to initiate the brutal clash. The combat machine moves with unbelievable speed, appearing directly in front of Myers within a single blink. It hurls a heavy, whistling fist through the air with immense power. However, Myers easily dodges every single incoming attack with absolute fluidity. He quickly distances himself by several meters, having completely calculated the machine's overall velocity and power. Myers violently storms forward to launch his massive counterattack, concentrating all his physical energy into his right fist. He proudly shouts about his 15 years of hard training, challenging the machine to endure his ultimate strike. A tremendous explosion echoes through the arena as his heavy fist smashes directly into the automaton's thick iron chestplate. The stunned audience stands completely speechless by the sheer magnitude of his monstrous physical strength. His single heavy punch shattered the machine's reinforced armor completely. I am deeply shocked, remembering that this 10-in-a-century genius died incredibly young in my past life despite becoming an A-class hero, strangely stuck at a specific lower level before his demise. Myers smiles confidently, completely breaking the automaton's metallic body with another casual strike. The heavy machine head falls to the floor with a loud clang as he relaxes his muscles. The amazed host gapes in disbelief at this total suppression of a C-class threat. Myers merely waves, claiming this incredible feat was just his basic routine. Next, a striking figure gracefully glides past my vision, completely removing any sense of pressure from the stage. She is the top student of U2, Nishikomi Arika, the eldest daughter of a legendary Japanese lineage. In my previous timeline, she famously rose to S-class prominence using a mythical weapon, before tragically falling to the demon forces later. Although I know her future will be completely corrupted by demonic power, attracting her to my alliance remains highly beneficial. Erika suddenly glances back at me, which feels incredibly strange since we have absolutely no current connection. Shaking off my confusion, I focus on the arena. She opens an elegant cage, releasing a mysterious blue-eyed crow. Erika softly whispers a single command, and the strange crow instantly flies toward the reinforced machine before soaring high into the sky. The automaton remains completely motionless, its targeting system locked entirely on the bird rather than her. It switches to its maximum defense mode, raising its massive armored arms to block any incoming aerial strike. The host explains that this specific machine features a special reinforced armor shell, making its physical defense remarkably high. Erika gently exhales a quiet breath. Suddenly, the crow's eyes explode with a brilliant, mystical blue light. The bird spreads its wide wings like a ruthless general, diving downward at a speed that creates a blurry visual. Erika stands perfectly still, yet the crow continuously strikes the machine with relentless, rapid-fire precision. Within 5 brief seconds, the automaton's ultimate defense is effortlessly shattered like a cheap toy. A massive, fatal hole is carved straight through its reinforced chest core. The powerful machine completely loses power, collapsing heavily onto its knees before the silent crowd. The entire stadium violently erupts into wild cheers over this incredible, single-combo assassination of a reinforced automaton. The mysterious crow gracefully returns to Erica, reverting smoothly back into its normal form. I feel a cold sweat breaking on my forehead, realizing that if I only show off my weapon, the audience will definitely boo my performance. Following my grand entrance onto the stage, Emperor Schubert sighs quietly, feeling deeply impressed by our freshman group. Blacksmiths have rarely produced top-tier scholars for many years, and he honestly hopes this massive pressure will not overwhelm me. Meanwhile, he watches with an accelerated heartbeat, fully believing that I can easily achieve total victory. I slowly unsheath my sharp blade, officially signaling the grand commencement of my combat performance. The crowd gasps loudly upon realizing that both my newly forged sword and layered scabbard possess a rare tier rating. People find it completely insane for a regular newcomer to wield such advanced elemental gear at this young age. The wicked Vice Dean sneers coldly, secretly believing that destiny is finally siding with his political ambition to conquer Percival Academy. He watches Liu with pure malice, greedily planning to force her immediate resignation. Down on the stage, I confidently ignore the massive crowd, mentally preparing to shock the entire institution with my true power. I boldly command the confused host to immediately swap my target for a Model 8 automaton with double reinforced armor plates. While the host hesitates over this unprecedented request, Professor Kim suddenly steps forward with a monstrous machine. This heavily armored unit can easily withstand high-tier attacks, and my mentor encourages me to cause a massive scene. The host reluctantly initiates the match since all the premium equipment is fully prepared. Liu keeps her sharp eyes locked on my position, eagerly expecting an absolute disaster to unfold. I focus my mental energy entirely on the upcoming strike. I am thoroughly determined to never disappoint their high expectations as I assume a classic draw sword stance. Flames instantly erupt from the scabbard, revealing a magnificent 5-colored radiance. While Myers watches with extreme excitement, Hans dismisses my technique as a flashy firework show. He assumes my low mana will cause the conflicting elements to explode, completely unaware that I am using my special skill to compress the volatile energy safely inside the inner walls. My extensive preparation is completely finished, and the advanced automaton stands perfectly ready for my impending assault. I unleash the full capacity of my stored magic, pushing my fragile physical body to its absolute limit. The compressed 5-color flame fragments begin reacting violently with each other, generating a massive pressure wave that shocks every senior professor. The heavy machine rapidly activates its ultimate shield, but it is far too late to block my attack. Executing my exclusive weapon skill, Wildfire, I unleash a devastating crescent wave of compressed magic. A series of cataclysmic explosions rocks the arena, generating a dangerous blast radius that completely shatters the heavy air with an ominous, destructive atmosphere. I calmly execute a smooth flourish before returning the smoking blade back into its scabbard. I look down at my bleeding hands, sweating slightly as I realize my output was somewhat excessive. A massive, deep canyon has been permanently carved straight through the solid stadium floor, leaving a terrifying scar from my supreme sword energy. The stunned spectators sit completely motionless, silenced by the immense magnitude of this freshman's destructive power. The host stands paralyzed as construction teams rush to repair the broken ground. My incredible performance earns unanimous praise from the High Council, securing my top genius status alongside a special reward of legendary, highly coveted hero-tier crafting materials. 10 minutes later, the sharp clicking sound of high heels echoes down the grand hallway. I relax on a comfortable sofa, patiently awaiting Liu's arrival. She gracefully enters the private office, politely apologizing for making me wait while she assisted in clearing the ruined arena. I admit my lack of restraint caused that massive damage. Liu reassures me that she is not here to scold my behavior, but her stomach suddenly growls loudly. I secretly know her hidden desire to consume high-grade weapons, but I remain quiet. She offers 10 times the market price to purchase my gear, which I politely refuse. Suddenly, a golden system notification flashes before my eyes. He firmly grasps my hand as the mysterious bond officially registers at level 1. She eagerly praises my incredible weapon combination, begging me to sell it to her for a crucial personal purpose. This sudden emotional development occurs much faster than in my previous life, creating an excellent tactical opportunity for my future plans. I immediately activate my extraction skill, causing a thick blue mono wave to spread from our hands. The system happily announces the successful acquisition of a top-grade metal called greed iron. While I study this unique red-black spiked ball, a familiar voice suddenly interrupts our meeting, announcing that the principal is waiting for us immediately. Liu looks deeply disappointed as I promise to see her again very soon. As we walk away, her hungry stomach loudly growls because she has not consumed premium forged armaments for a long time. We calmly walk down the majestic hallways of the Grand Bolduc Manor located inside the central main building of the Academy. Professor Kim strongly advises me to watch my language and behavior in front of our legendary principal. He reminds me that the leader generously forgave the massive structural destruction I caused during the arena demonstration. I calmly tell my nervous mentor not to worry because I understand exactly how to handle these prominent social situations. Moments later, I officially step into the private office to meet the supreme leader of Babel. This incredible old man is a genuine human hero who successfully destroyed the sixth demon god in my previous timeline. He is also recognized as a flawless all-clearer, and he smiles warmly while expressing high expectations for my talent. The principal notes that while my newly forged gear is not entirely flawless, my immense potential thoroughly fascinates him. I secretly plan to refine the blade further inside the furnace anyway. My hard work has successfully earned total recognition from the High Council, and the principal kindly offers to grant me to special requested rewards. I immediately ask for rare treasures that can effectively enhance both my magical capacity and strategic memory. The principal readily agrees to my bold request with an amused smile. He slowly raises his wrinkled palm, preparing to activate his mystical spatial ability to retrieve the valuable artifacts directly from a hidden, divine treasury realm. A majestic golden gateway suddenly manifests in midair right as a brilliant cosmic rune appears outside the threshold. To legendary, ultra-rare materials drop into my waiting hands. These legendary items possess incredible swallowing properties and mystical dream magic. While they cannot be utilized immediately, I can already clearly foresee their massive strategic value. I express my deepest gratitude to the laughing principal for these magnificent prizes before leaving the room. As I walk back to the main hall, I feel highly motivated. Meanwhile, the floating rune strangely speaks to the principal, questioning why he granted such valuable, rare ores to a simple freshman candidate who just recently joined. The wise leader calmly exhales a puff of smoke, stating that my young body possesses enough internal capacity to fully digest their power. He notes that it feels as though a highly experienced old man is living inside a youthful shell. The principal opens one eye, admitting that even he cannot fully measure my ultimate potential. 1 hour later, inside the bustling educational building, several students invite Hans Bamert out for a friendly lunch. The arrogant yellow-haired boy proudly declines, bragging that he has an exclusive appointment with a prominent third-year elite senior named Hodwood. He notes their prestigious blacksmith families share a deep historical connection within the weapon industry. While they discuss receiving valuable survival advice from the senior, my shadow slowly enters the classroom. My facial expression instantly shifts into an incredibly cold glare as I lock my eyes onto the trembling yellow-haired brat. I silently warn him to never cause any trouble here because the tragic fates of my dogs depend on it. Hans shivers in pure terror, unable to comprehend why I harbor such an intense, bloodthirsty hostility toward him. My lingering gaze feels like a terrifying ghost threatening to destroy him if he dares step out of line. I look away with a dark smile, satisfied that this foolish noble still understands his inferior position. Suddenly, Professor Kim steps inside the classroom, commanding everyone to remain completely silent. He announces that our primary lesson will smoothly begin with individual introductions as an assistant brings a massive alloy stone. Professor Kim holds a special alloy stone, explaining its sensitivity to magical energy is several dozen times higher than standard ores. When students inject their internal mana, the weapon shape envisioned inside their minds easily manifests into a real object. I am deeply shocked by his skill, feeling a unique power radiating from his legendary contract stone. This highly sensitive material reflects subconscious psychological traits, allowing students to properly examine themselves through their creations. Every freshman in the blacksmithing department must forge a personal replica for their upcoming weekly exhibition. As multiple ordinary classmates step forward to test their skills, I realize their raw power is far too weak to create anything meaningful. I sigh quietly because these regular individuals look entirely like fools compared to the grand geniuses of my previous timeline. Since I chose this difficult path, I will execute everything perfectly to avoid being underestimated. I am determined to thoroughly shock these new students. I step up to the grand platform as the final student to demonstrate. The moment my fingers touch the cold alloy stone, my immense mono triggers a sudden reactive explosion within the sensitive structure. Brilliant flames instantly burst from my hand. A tremendous shockwave rips through the immediate area, generating a colossal